So, like I said, I have them write out. They can tell you all of these, right? So I tell them, okay, cool. You guys know how to keep going up. So if I were to write x to the 6th, and they will usually always say, like all the years I've taught, they always say, just add an x. And I will be silly and I'll say, okay, plus x? No, you know what we mean. I'm like, no, I don't know, because you said add an x. And we kind of went through words, right?
Yeah.
The day before, so that's perfect. Okay, if you guys said add an x, that means plus x. And they say, no, but it's got a little dot. Well, what does that little dot represent? Multiplication. Oh, okay, so then you mean multiply by x. Now that's the pattern to go up. To go to the x to the 7th, x to the 8th. Excuse me. So then we just talked about inverses, which they've already mentioned. We've already talked previous this year. So we'll say if I want to go backwards, if I'm going up, I'm going to multiply. What about if I'm going backwards? And they usually will say divide. Cool, divide by x. And I'll give them an example. Like if I was at x to the 3rd, it meant x times x. And if I want to go down to the previous one, then I would divide by x. And then I divide those out. And they say, oh yeah, x squared. Well, that's what it was. So then here you go to go down. So to go down, you have x. And if you divide x by x, you get 1. No matter what number x is. And that's how they get that anything to the 0 power is 1. And then from there, some kids will see it really quickly. Well, then x to the negative 1 is 1 over x, because you're just dividing by x again. And others don't, and you have to kind of like write it out and do a couple of examples. And I usually just go to like x to the negative 3rd, and by then they say, whatever that number is, it's just in the denominator. And that's what we're trying to get to. So that would be like the notes. Our objective is going to be for students to develop and use the properties of integer exponents. So if you notice, integer, we're not like going into like fractional exponents yet. But we are going to do the negatives. And we have a toolkit that's been ordered through Quick Copy through our district. So that's going to be getting here either today or tomorrow. It'll be on the yellow sheet like we do toolkits, and it'll just be a quick little toolkit that like it basically will cover like the properties of exponents and what it means, what it represents, like what x to the 5th represents. So they can have that toolkit as also in addition to their notes that they take, that they can use for their homework. And the first day we're going to be working on this worksheet that that the department has generated, which just covers like simplifying expressions and finding the product of exponents. It'll probably take us a period because the kids will take their time to do that. And again, we just chunk it off. Like after we do the notes and we see that the kids are getting it, I'll usually have them in groups. They also have their assigned groups. Turn to your groups. You guys are going to do 1 through 4. And then we'll call on students to go up to the board. That's another way of checking. You know, just having a kid and you basically like have to like just remind them, like, you know, like make sure you check with your group before you go up to the board. So basically when one kid goes up to the board, you're basically checking the whole group. Because if they get it wrong, then that meant the whole group was wrong. And then I usually like to have them, I'll have them do some of it with their groups of 4. And then once they're getting the hang of it, I like to go back to your partners. That way, like, you know, you kind of start guiding them like from the whole class to their group, to their partner, and then eventually they're working on their own. And it builds that confidence because especially when you're getting into like exponents and stuff, they really feel overwhelmed. So there's just a few strategies you could use for like combining like terms and stuff. I always take it back to like way in kindergarten and remind them, you guys have been adding like terms. I either take it to shapes. When they were little, they would sort by shapes, you know, all the triangles and all the circles, or animals, like farm animals. I love to always like bring up the iPods and iPads and stuff like that, because it keeps them like, as soon as they hear iPod, they're like, what? Like, you know, they're like totally engaged. And then of course we always bring it back to like mathematically, like, you know, like what does that represent, like terms, unlike terms, and stuff like that. And then the next day, we're going to continue with the same lesson because they usually need that more practice on that. And we're going to go to page 321. There it is. 321 on the bridge material again. So if you take a look at it, it has a quick little table again. It'll kind of resemble the notes that we took. So they could always take out their notes and it starts out the little table and then half of it they have to fill in. So if you notice, it goes from the fourth, third, second, first power, and then 0, -1, -2. So it's basically what we did, it's just a little bit different. So it works out really nice because they get to reinforce that, and which is perfect right now, look at your notes. They're always used to asking the teacher before they even look at their notes, and I'm trying to get them to, we're trying to wean them off of us.
Yeah.
So it's no, look at your notes first. That's your very first thing that you do. So now, okay, sorry. That's going to be in it for this lesson. Again, it'll be the same. It'll be the same content standard because we're still working with the same thing and the same objective as the previous day. And then the last day is going to be 121 through 126. And the last day we're leaving it as we're going to take a quick little quiz. And then we're going to take a quiz and then just give ourselves time either for enrichment or reteaching time. And that's going to...
It's going to go based off whatever they score in the quiz.
Right. Just which one is the proficiency. Sorry, I've been talking. Do you have any questions?
No. We're not so far. You could get it. So then, just to open up the lesson, I just start them off, or do you want me to feed off a little bit based on? Then to start off like variables, and I open up the lesson. I want to be able to.
When you open that up, you can basically just tell them this is what we're going to cover today, and then it's up to you really. It's going to be, this is what you feel comfortable with. If you have anything little, any little story or any little background that you can kind of just make it seem like a game almost.
Okay.
Just make it seem like a game where they will really be enthusiastic about participating in it. And then, of course, we always bring it back to the vocabulary and the words that that we want them to be using and learning. What do you think of doing? How many lessons do you want to do? You want to do 2? Which 2 would you like to do? Because there's really three little lessons, and then the reteaching on that last day. So I'll leave that up to you. We'll have all the materials for it.
I think I'll do the first 2.
You want to do the first 2? Okay. So it'll be the variables and expressions. That'll be the first day, and then exponents on the second day.